Newly obtained documents tell us more about what happened last year when a Northwest Territories firefighter died on the job. Adam Yeadon was struck by a falling tree while working near a fire 27 kilometers from his home of Fort Liard. The Workers' Safety and Compensation Commission said earlier this year it wouldn't lay charges in the incident. And now CBC News has documents explaining why. Leanie Lambrink joins us now with more. So Leanie, what did those documents tell us about the day that Adam died?
So we already knew from Adam's family that he had been killed by a falling tree. Now we know a bit more about how that happened. The Workers' Safety and Compensation Commission sent a health and safety officer to speak to Adam's crewmates. And what that officer found out was that it had been 2 trees falling in a domino pattern. So first a tree in the burn area fell, but it hit a tree in a green area where the crew had been working. And it was that second tree, a poplar more than 50 feet tall, that hit Adam on the head. He'd been looking down at the time using a chainsaw to chop a tree on the ground.
So why didn't the Workers' Safety and Compensation Commission lay charges in this case?
So what the WSCC found, they found that the circumstances of Adam's death were beyond the control of his crewmates and his employer. They found he had been trained to cut trails and brush where he was working, he was using the right PPE, and he was following procedures. They also found other people working with him had the training they needed and that first aid and communication devices were on site. Now, the investigator did list some basic reasons for what happened, but obviously the WSCC has decided these don't rise to the level of workplace charges. It says there was a failure to identify hazards, an inadequate warning system, and a lack of situational awareness. The WSCC doesn't say, however, who was responsible for addressing those gaps.
So the Northwest Territories government did its own reporting and investigation into what happened here, and that was actually sent to you as part of this report. So what did that say?
So that document lays out the department's perspective on what happened. It has details about where the crew was working, what they were doing, how the incident unfolded, and the aftermath. One thing in ECC's report that struck me, though, was about training. N.W.T firefighters are taught about dangerous trees as part of their chainsaw training that Adam had. But the year this happened, 2023, that was the first year that an entire one-day course was being offered on the topic. N.W.T firefighters weren't scheduled to get that one-day training until 2024, though, since their chainsaw training certification wasn't going to lapse yet. ECC's report also has more than a dozen recommendations for its own fire program. One of them is to add more information about dangerous trees into firefighter training.
Thanks for your work on this, Leanie.
Thanks for having me.